Hi, everyone. My name is Trish Kazakis. I'm a corporate nutrition manager, and I'm so glad you could join us here today. I am going to be your moderator for today's webinar, Get the Facts on Fiber. Please note that the information that's provided during today's webinar is for educational purposes only. It's not meant to replace individual counseling that you may get or medical advice. So please check with your doctor for what would be best for you. Now, I'm going to be joining at the end to help moderate the Q&A. So if you have any questions, please drop them in that Q&A box. But I am pleased to present to you our presenter, Wegmans Nutritionist and registered dietitian, Brittany Reynolds. Brittany, take it away.
Thank you, Trish, and welcome everybody. Trish, you know, as dietitians, we get excited when a specific nutrient draws a crowd, and certainly fiber tends to do that with folks. And it's likely you've heard the advice to add more fiber to your diet or eat foods high in fiber. But do you know why dietary fiber is good for your health or ways you can boost your intake? But before we really dig into the facts and where to find or incorporate more fiber into your day, I'd like us to just take a quick moment to focus on fiber. So fiber is a very valuable nutrient that supports many aspects of health, and there's a lot of well-documented benefits. Though despite the benefits that we've heard or that are, out there through the medical studies and such, most people do not get enough fiber in their diet. In fact, and I just reread this, but at the current date, fiber is considered a nutrient of public health concern by our dietary guidelines for Americans, meaning there's a significant gap between fiber consumption and the recommended daily intake. More than 90% of adults do not meet the fiber recommendation. And we'll explore in just a bit why this is the case. I think there's some interesting reasons why this is such a low intake nutrient. Point out that not all fiber is the same, meaning there are different types, different effects, and some people have difficulty tolerating the different types. But what exactly is fiber? So for the purpose of this webinar, I'll be sharing information mostly around dietary fiber. And dietary fiber is a nutrient that we usually refer to and know as a carbohydrate. And folks are familiar with carbohydrates, but that might be new to some folks, that fiber is in fact a carbohydrate. It is only found in plant foods. So unlike other carbs that are broken down into sugar, your body cannot digest fiber. Now, there are varying categories of fiber. The two main types that most folks have likely heard of are known as soluble and insoluble fiber. So soluble meaning it could be dissolved in water. This helps slow digestion. It helps in nutrient absorption. Where insoluble fiber, or what my grandma referred to as roughage, adds bulk to stool and can ease movement through the digestive tract. But even under these umbrella terms, fiber can further be described as viscous or fermentable. And folks, frankly, this is where it can start to sound very sciencey. So in most cases, I discourage folks from hyper-focusing on the different types, as each provides some level of really pretty great benefits, but focus on eating a wide variety of plant foods that I have listed here: the fruits, the veggies, whole grains, beans, legumes, nuts, and seeds, really to best guarantee that you're reaping the benefits. And this small nutrient can certainly have a big impact on your health. A diet that's adequate in fiber intake may support your health in several ways, including lowering cholesterol, regulating blood sugar, providing satiety or that feeling of fullness, which can aid in weight control, supporting digestive health and regularity, and is linked to a reduced risk of several chronic diseases like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, diverticular disease, and certain types of cancer, especially colorectal cancer. So we've heard these benefits, but you might be asking yourself, how? How does fiber aid in such, health benefits? Well, let's start with heart health And I'll simplify this example just a bit. But soluble fiber will actually bind to cholesterol in your digestive tract, preventing its absorption into the bloodstream. And in return, this can help lower that bad or LDL cholesterol. And then additionally, fiber-rich foods are often lower in sodium, but higher in potassium, magnesium, antioxidants, all of which may contribute to better blood pressure regulation. And when it comes to diabetes, because soluble fiber dissolves in water, it creates a gel-like substance in your digestive tract, which helps slow sugar absorption, ultimately preventing sudden spikes in blood sugar or blood glucose levels. Now, this isn't only important function for folks looking to support diabetes management, but it may actually help reduce the risk of developing diabetes as well. And you've likely heard that fiber is a key player in digestive health, sometimes a topic that can seem a little taboo. Now, insoluble fiber remains unchanged as it passes through the digestive tract, adding bulk, which softens and increases the volume of stools, making it easier and faster to pass through the intestines. And maintaining healthy elimination patterns is certainly foundational to well-being. So there are many benefits, but just how much do we need in our diet? And as I shared right at the start, the vast majority of Americans are not consuming enough fiber. Studies suggest only about 5 to 10% of adults meet the daily recommended intake. And in fact, the average daily consumption in the US is only around 10 to 15 grams of fiber. So let's take a look at what daily intake goals should be. And you'll notice this chart here is categorized by age and gender as well. So take a look to kind of see where you fit. Now, the recommended daily intake of fiber for adults is 28 grams, and this is based on a 2,000 calorie diet. But I'll share there's an average recommendation landing, between 25 and 30 grams per day, since intake doesn't have to, and it really likely won't be super precise. A little more one day, a little less fiber the next day is no problem, as long as you're aiming to meet the average recommended amount most days. And of course, we would further suggest you reach out to your healthcare provider for guidance if you're not sure exactly how much fiber you need. I do want to touch on fiber supplements, but before I hop into that, let's take a look at what it might take to get the recommended daily amount of fiber from your diet. So what might a balanced eating pattern look like that hits the fiber mark? And I'd like to pull from our basic guidelines for healthy eating, which can be found on Wegmans.com. Start by aiming for 5 or more servings of fruits and veggies a day. Some examples, and I have visuals here, but they include raw or cooked, canned, frozen, or dried. And a serving size will vary depending on the type, but opting for variety and a mix of colors, aiming to fill your plate with half of your plate there with fruits and vegetables is a great start. Beans, peas, and lentils can be a budget-friendly option that really pack a great fiber punch. If you're already incorporating them into your everyday meals or recipes, I think that's great. Though for many folks, myself included, a goal of 3 or more servings each week is a great place to start. You can try adding beans or peas to maybe a soup recipe, or convenient adding beans onto top of your salad at lunch. But really keeping a variety of beans and lentils in your pantry helps ensure that you're stocked for success when it comes to beans and lentils. Now, it's recommended to make half your grains whole, or 3 or more servings of whole grains each day. Some examples include whole grain pastas, breads, and cereals. Just make sure to read the food label to check for that phrase, whole grain. And if you're able to, let's add about a handful of nuts or seeds each day to our daily eating pattern. Now, of course, again, these are just guidelines, but consuming the recommended servings of fruits, veggies, beans, lentils, whole grains, nuts, and seeds would likely total upwards of 30 to 40 grams of fiber. So even though every day might not look exactly like this, for most folks, this demonstrates that getting enough fiber from food is likely doable. Well, this may not be your typical dietary pattern yet, and we know there are folks that are either using a fiber supplement or asking, is a supplement right for me? So some indications I wanted to touch on that supplement might include would be managing diverticulosis or chronic constipation, or maybe it is potentially filling in a gap if you're not getting enough fiber from food. However, they can certainly sometimes cause unwanted symptoms like gas or bloating. And it's important for me to mention it might seem like taking a supplement, maybe a tablespoon of benefiber or like each day will help reach your fiber goal, though usually a suggested dose of such a supplement contains minimal, maybe around 3 grams of fiber. So that's the same amount of fiber that you can find in a medium banana, or even a little less than in an ounce of almonds. And of course, we like to talk about food first because food provides a variety of additional nutrients. So while supplements, there's likely not a practical way to replace fiber-rich foods in your diet, there are certainly times a supplement may fill a specific need. Some folks, for example, need to limit or avoid certain foods, fiber-rich foods, thinking of folks with IBS or following a low residue diet. In this case, a supplement might help meet fiber needs in a more predictable, controlled way. Or your doctor maybe recommends a fiber supplement to help manage high cholesterol or diabetes, or your calorie intake is low for a certain reason. So again, a fiber supplement might help support regularity without consuming large portions of food. Of course, you have some options when it comes to supplements, though most are primarily soluble fiber, meaning they dissolve in water. But again, there's differences even among soluble fiber supplements that you would want to discuss with your healthcare provider to determine which is right for you. And it's also important to note that fiber supplements can interact with other medications. So typically it's recommended that the two are taken 2 to 3 hours apart. Again, certainly a conversation to have with your pharmacist or doctor. Is it possible to overdo it? We occasionally get asked if you can have too much fiber from food. And yes, the short answer is yes. Digestive discomfort, hindering nutrient absorption, and ironically, too much fiber can cause constipation, especially without proper fluid intake. Of 60 to 70 grams of fiber are considered safe if, again, there isn't discomfort. But seeing as the average intake is only 10 to 15 grams per day, most folks need to focus on getting more fiber, not if there is too much in their diet. Now, why is fiber constantly low in the diet? Well, there's certainly a correlation between Americans not meeting the recommended daily intake for fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and subsequently the lack of fiber in their diet. For example, only 10% of adults in the US meet the recommended daily intake for fruits and veggies. I think that, coupled with an increased consumption of highly processed foods or a hyperfixation on other nutrients, which can then lead almost to a neglect of key nutrients. And yes, protein, I'm looking at you. While important, most Americans are already consuming enough or more than enough protein to meet their body's needs. So these are some likely reasons why fiber is so underconsumed. So how do we increase our intake? The obvious answer would be eat foods high in fiber. It's always best to try to get your vitamins, your minerals, and other nutrients through diet. And of course, fiber is no different. Remember that fiber is only found in plant foods. So leaning into a plant-forward pattern of eating by building your meals around fruits, vegetables, beans, legumes, and whole grains. So what are some high foods that pack a big fiber punch? Pinto beans, seaweed, whole grain spelt, prunes, bran. But okay, if I'm being transparent, you're not going to see those particular foods in a regular rotation at our family dinner table. But I think we want to discuss making small shifts or tweaks that can best fit into your day or your dietary pattern, which can help you reach your fiber goals. So for starters, focusing on incorporating fruits and veggies into every meal. And I mentioned filling half your plate with fruits or veggies to start, but don't underestimate the benefits of integrating them into meals. Maybe that's topping your breakfast cereal or yogurt with fruits, adding veggies into your morning omelet, or chopping up veggies to your pasta sauce at dinner. Pile on extra veggies into your sandwich, or add some to stir fry or on top of your frozen pizza at night. Thinking about replacing refined grains with whole grains, since fiber is a significant part of a whole grain ingredient, start your day maybe with whole grain cereal or oatmeal. Try to incorporate brown rice instead of white rice, or making whole wheat pasta, maybe a pantry staple. Snacking on nuts and seeds like almonds, pistachios, or sunflower seeds. They're tiny but mighty and contain upwards of 3 grams of fiber per ounce. And then using the nutrient facts label to be your guide. Foods that must contain 5 grams of fiber or more to be considered high fiber. But when reading labels, look for 10% of the daily value or more to help help you have a goal of what you're looking for. But sometimes foods maybe fall a little short. Nutrient-rich foods could, even though they're dense with nutrients, fall short of this threshold. It's still a good idea to include them because variety really is key for a balanced diet that has everything for your body to function at its best. And important to note, remember to start slow and go slow. I know you're probably super excited to start incorporating additional fiber after hearing these facts, but a sudden increase can lead to digestive discomfort like bloating, cramping, constipation, and diarrhea. So start slow when you're integrating more fiber into your diet. And also remember to increase or include plenty of fluids to help things move smoothly through your system. So with the average of 28 grams per day, I think morning can be a great time to give your fiber intake a jump start. And whether you're a savory or sweet person, there are certainly plenty of creative ways to start your morning with fiber. I'd like to highlight some recipes that I found by searching Wegmans.com, starting with our avocado toast. And pictured is a slice of our sprouted multi-grain bread with half a smashed avocado. This is topped with a soft boiled egg just for added nutrients, providing an average of 8 grams of fiber per serving. Next is the harvest oatmeal, which combines our old-fashioned oats, apple cider, and butternut squash. So this sounds really, seasonal right now, with optional toppings like cranberries or chopped walnuts, both flavorful and convenient for the morning. And 1 cup provides 6 grams of fiber. And the ever popular acai smoothie bowl. This is a 10-minute prep favorite, which is packed with fruit and certainly can have other tasty toppings such as almond butter, additional fruit, maybe chia seeds, and even some chocolate. A 13-ounce bowl can provide upwards of 13 grams of fiber. Some other fiber boosters, maybe trying a new-to-you fruit. That could be guava. It's a tropical fruit that packs 9 grams of fiber into 1 cup serving. Or adding bran to smoothies, maybe that's veggies on top of your egg sandwich, or simply starting your day with a favorite whole grain cereal. All great ways to boost your fiber at breakfast time. And now a few of my favorite weeknight inspirations. Again, these are found on Wegmans.com. First is the pasta with escarole and beans with sausage, or you can opt to go meatless. 1 serving is 8 grams. Which is found in those mostly the beans and the veggies as well. And that's 2 cups for the serving there. This is an easy 1-pot dinner that I like to make for my family. And then next in the middle are easy turkey chili, which includes black beans and salsa, providing 7 grams of fiber in 1 cup. And chili is a meal where you can use the recipe as a flexible framework. Throw in whatever beans or veggies you prefer and that you have on hand in your pantry, your fridge, or your freezer. And lastly, the sheet pan chicken thighs with pesto, peppers, and tomatoes. This is really easy to put together for busy nights. It's super tasty. It has 8 grams of fiber per serving, which again comes mostly from those veggies. So be sure to check those and more out. Which in addition to our great tasting recipes, head to Wegmans.com/feelyourbest for additional tips, resources to help you meet your nutrition and individualized wellness needs. You'll find pages that support whole body health, including heart health, or resources on eating approaches. I mentioned earlier about that plant-forward eating approach. So we have great resources on that. And be sure to check out the library of on-demand nutrition webinars where you can find really a wide variety of topics that cover meal planning, healthy aging, and of course, plant-forward eating as well. All things to help you feel your best. And with that, I'd like to rejoin Trish to see if there are any questions we can share with you folks.
Thank you, Brittany. That was great. You're making me hungry with all of those ideas too. And I did drop links in the chat box for those of you that are watching us live. So you can find some of those resources later. Definitely got some questions from folks. And one question that came up, Brittany, when referencing the chart that you shared, somebody noticed that for the older age groups that the recommendation for fiber went down a little bit. And was wondering if you could explain that.
Sure. And Trish, maybe you have some thoughts too. Right off the top of my head, as we age, sometimes our caloric intake, right? So like our daily intake from calories decreases, and that might be reflected in some of those food groups that I mentioned, right? Like the average recommendation is 5 or more fruits or cups of vegetables a day. That may be a bit too much, as far as intake as you get older. I don't know if you have any other thoughts, directly why that would decrease.
That's absolutely correct. And in fact, I know the chart was focused on adults. If you go to the dietary guidelines, they actually will share for children. Because again, as children are younger and lower calorie needs, there's a correlation there. We won't get all sciencey on you. That's part of the reason why. Yeah. And then definitely checking with your doctor, like Brittany said, because everybody's needs could vary from there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. So another question that came in is, I know you shared a lot of tips around meals and some for snacks, but some folks were really wondering, like, how can they use snacks to incorporate more fiber, particularly our folks that are looking for ideas on the go?
Yeah. Trish, I love this question because for many folks, and we chat about this a lot as dietitians, but more than half of your daily calories can sometimes come from snacking. So it's a really great time, I think, to take advantage of filling in any nutrient gaps, using those pockets to, fill in some of those groups that I shared, including boosting fiber intake. And when I think of snacking, I want foods that are quick or easy to take on the go. So things like fruits, right? Apples, pears, bananas, or berries. Again, this webinar is in the fall right now. I am certainly having an apple most days for my snack. And for veggies, I like to snack on things that can be paired with hummus or a dip. So raw carrots, maybe green peas or broccoli. Now keep in mind, some fruits and veggies may only account for a few grams of fiber per serving at best, but that's okay, especially if you're working towards that goal of 5 or more servings each day. Snacking can actually help you meet this goal and provide additional important nutrients. I like the idea of packing a snack-sized container of maybe almonds, pistachios, walnuts, whatever your favorite nut or seed is. And if you have extra time in the kitchen, I like making their no-cook energy bites, which allows for some ingredient flexibility, but mine usually contain a nut butter, oatmeal, chia, or flax seeds, all great to boost your fiber intake. Or if you're looking for that snack in the evening, plan ahead. Have some popcorn, just popcorn, which is a fiber-friendly snack. And we keep it interesting at home by drizzling it with our Wegmans green sriracha sauce. It gives it a buttery texture, but with a nice flavor kick.
Awesome ideas. Yeah. And that sriracha sauce tip, when we share it with folks, they're like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that before.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great ideas. Another question that came up is, you're talking about trying to make sure that we get enough fiber in, but then we've got some folks that are balancing their carbohydrate intake for different reasons. How do they try to balance that? Do you have any tips that you can share?
Yeah, again, great question. And I think sometimes we refer to this as maybe a little bit of carb confusion. I'll start by sharing that carbs are obviously essential to fuel your body. In fact, they're our primary and preferred energy source. And fiber, again, is a type of carbohydrate. So every dietary source of fiber will inevitably contain carbs if you follow that. Now, some folks follow low carb eating patterns because of medical reasons, others for their own personal reasons, but certainly a dietary risk of low carb eating is inadequate fiber intake. So if folks are looking to keep carbs in check but avoid becoming deficient in fiber, you can definitely aim for incorporating fiber-rich foods with fewer total carbs, such as avocados, nuts, chia, flax seeds, dark leafy greens, cauliflower, berries. But remember, when discussing particularly carbs and diabetes, fiber is your friend since it helps with blood sugar control and weight management. And like any eating pattern, I think it's important to understand both the challenges and advantages to help you decide whether an eating approach is best for your health goals and your lifestyle as well.
Absolutely. Great tips. And again, this is another reminder of a place where maybe you'd need to work with either a dietitian one-on-one or your healthcare team to really help you. But like Brittany said, it's understanding they're a type of carbohydrate, but then depending on your dietary approach will help influence how you can balance the two, because they definitely can still be a part of that overall diet. Great. We've got a couple more minutes. So what about some tips for kids or teens? I know you have a couple in your house.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a mom to 3, and while I don't tally up total, fiber intake at the end of the day for each of my kiddos, I am generally aware of what foods they had, or actually in most cases where the gaps are. There really isn't a separate list of fiber-containing foods exclusively for kids and teens, but I would encourage parents to explore favorite foods amongst those fiber-rich foods, the fruits, the veggies, whole grains, beans, nuts and seeds, and incorporate, your kiddos in talking about what their favorite foods are within those groups. So maybe that's starting your child's morning off with a bowl of oatmeal topped with fruit or raisins. You can top their yogurt or cereal with fruit and nuts too, or choosing whole grain bread for their sandwich and sending a fruit or veggie each day in their lunch. You could make a trail mix together for an easy grab and go snack with a whole grain cereal, some dried unsweetened fruit, and nuts or seeds. Trying to opt for whole grain pasta with their favorite sauce at dinner time, or mixing. I know that's a good strategy sometimes too. Maybe you're mixing whole grain and white pasta or rice for kiddos. And I'd be remiss again not to share encouraging additional fluid intake if you are looking to or are attempting to increase fiber intake for our kiddos, especially again helping to ease discomfort and keep things moving along.
Great tips. And another one, particularly with younger kids, is seeing the adults in the household enjoying those different foods. That also can help model for them. So
absolutely.
Awesome. Somebody did write in, actually a couple of people, they've noticed a couple of the items like the chia seeds that you were showing and wondering how they can find them at Wegmans, or what department can they find them at Wegmans?
Sure.
Do you have a tip where they might be able to actually find it in the store that they shop?
I would hop on our Wegmans app or website, and you can filter to your store, which is where we live locally. I'm able to shop different stores, so it's nice to modify that, and you can then search the item you're looking for, which will give you the the location.
Absolutely. In fact, both the app and the website, it'll even come down to, Brittany said, you make sure you check the right store. It'll tell you the aisle number, and then whether it's the right or left side, and then the section. So we really do try to make it easy for you. So hopefully that helps you find it. And wow, I can't believe we are right at 1:00. Brittany, thank you so much for giving us the facts on fiber and inspiration on ways to incorporate more. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. If you wait a few seconds, you'll get a link to a survey. Please take a minute to fill it out. It helps us to continue to bring programming like this to you. So thanks again, everyone. Have a great day.